So, Jeff, your first time on the George Jarkesy Show. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, George.
I got to tell you, I am up in arms about Senator Kerry trying to sneak this thing through while everybody's paying attention to the election. This Law of Sea treaty is unconstitutional. It's un-American. And anybody who backs this thing we should be after them for treason.
We should absolutely, or recall them, if they vote for this, which I believe we should do for GOP senators especially.
Well, I got to tell you, this is completely a threat to our national sovereignty.
Right.
Why don't you tell our listeners why you think it is that? I know I do, but I want to hear from you.
Okay. Well, there's several articles in the treaty that your listeners should be aware of. Article 82 deals with the taxation, where America will actually be taxed for operations on the open seas, and then the ISA will actually redistribute those monies to third world or developing countries.
Now let's back up just a minute there, Jeff.
Let's
The
find out what this
ISA is the International Seabed Authority,
right? And
they're going to have the ability to tax. I said a tax. That was a Freudian slip. A tax. Tax.
Right.
They're going to have the ability to tax American corporations and Americans. Yep. A foreign entity.
Right.
I mean, it's absurd.
They will, when operations are going on the open sea beyond the 200 nautical miles off our shores, there will be a 7% tax that will come out of the U.S. Treasury, which will be paid to the ISA, and which will then be redistributed. The actual article says on redistribution, the payments or contributions shall be made through the ISA, or to the ISA, which shall distribute them to countries party to this convention on the basis of equitable sharing criteria.
Now right there. Let's stop right there, Jeff.
Okay.
Well, here's my problem. This is Dwayne. Here's my problem with that. Equitable redistribution. Now, so the UN, not particularly, let me just give the UN as an example. This is not exactly the UN. This is a whole nother kind of UN.
Exactly.
But traditionally has not been what I would call a group that's fraud-proof or completely ethically perfect. So you're going to give a group like that of international diplomats, et cetera, the
non-Americans.
Exactly, which hate America.
The power to redistribute income that American companies make. And what really bothers me is I could just see some of that money winding up in a dictator's hands somewhere in, say, Africa.
Exactly, because a lot of this will go, it actually states that they will distribute that income they collect from us to developing states, particularly to the least developed and landlocked, which we're looking at Africa most likely.
Can you imagine? Sure. Can you imagine that the Obama administration and that scoundrel Senator Kerry are going to try to do this in a situation where it allow an international agency to take money that we need in America from Americans and give it to whoever they want to give it to at their whim? Well, and I got to tell you, part of this treaty, Dwayne, and you were correct as part of it. This treaty would give the United Nations control over 71% of the world's surface, over all the seas. I mean, so it is absurd. It is absurd.
And, that reminds me of, that goes along with Obama's ideology. And Karl Marx said, from each according to his ability to each according to his need. That's basically what this is communism.
Yeah, it's a redistribution of wealth. And what you hear so often, there was a good saying in Russia that you hear from the Russians that are so happy to be in America. And I heard from these Russians last week when I was in New York, and they said, where we're at in America now scares us because we felt this and we heard the stories of this type of thing happening, and this is how communism came into power. In there. Now, I don't want to get off track too much here because I want to focus on Lost. The other thing about sovereignty that really bothers me here is the military effects that this
Right.
a treaty, that this a backing of this treaty
Right.
would do. Talk to us about the what effects would have on our military and our ability to control our own military, our own submarines, our own aircraft carriers.
Right. That would be in the Lost Treaty. That's under Article 19, which deals with the passage of foreign ships. It says the passage of a foreign ship shall be considered to be prejudicial or harmful to a coastal state if there is a threat or use of force against that state.
You got to stop right there. I mean, the bottom line is if you're on an American carrier or you're in an American submarine, that's America, no matter where that damn submarine goes.
Well,
and I got to tell you, to give anybody other than our country, an American and our president, the right to have any domain over American soil, whether it be inside a submarine, on an aircraft carrier, or in my backyard, is absurd.
Exactly. And
George, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you boys a question real quick. Who protects the America's sea lane? I mean, the world's sea lanes?
America does.
We do.
So why do we have to pay an extra tax to keep everybody safe and commerce flowing? I don't get it.
Exactly. They should be paying us.
We're already carrying the bill on this thing.
Right, exactly.
It's more redistribution of wealth at a time when America is struggling economically.
Exactly.
It's another way to weaken our country. And no wonder they like it. No wonder they're so happy to try to slide it in. The other thing that bothers me here, and I don't know how much time we've got to get to this. We probably got about a minute.
Okay.
But this is a back door, an absolute back door to the Kyoto Protocol.
Yep.
And that Kyoto Protocol is going to cause Americans to pay almost double for their electricity and almost 20% more for their gasoline, just for starters. It's going to affect us. It is going to negatively affect the GDP, the gross domestic product of our country, by 2.3% per year.
Right.
And I'm getting these numbers from the U.S. Department of Energy. I mean, you can't. How much more negative damper do we need to put economically? I mean, it's absurd. Do you agree with this? That this is going to open the door to the Kyoto Protocol, Jeff?
Absolutely. The United States can be sued if we don't abide by world body guidelines on the environment. If we ratify laws, that's Article 207 and 208 in the treaty. It says states shall adopt laws to prevent pollution of the marine environment from land-based sources, and also 208 deals with preventing laws preventing pollution from seabed activities. So it's land-based and marine-based.
I got to tell you, Jeff, I'm really glad that you've done a lot of research on this.
Good.
Your website is Pat Dollard. It's the Pat Dollard.
PatDollard.com, and we'll have the list of GOP senators that you can tweet or email or call. It'll be up there. And
hey, and Jeff, you're at I Resist All on Twitter.
On Twitter.
That's
I
right.
Resist All on Twitter.
All right, Jeff. Thanks
There
for
we
being on
go.
the show today. We really appreciate the insight.
Awesome, guys.
All right, that was Jeff
Thanks, man.
Rainforth of the Pat Dollard blog.